as a farmer, most farmers are horrible at delegating. We just, nobody can do it as good as us, right? That's kind of the farmer mantra. And what I found is I'm a lot more effective at what I'm good at. The very few things that I'm good at. um, when I can delegate all the other things that I'm not good at, and like you said, find a person that is good at those things. So whether that be an assistant or another type of employee that complements your personality, finding somebody that can handle those things that you're just not good at, and take them, and you can work as a team and be a lot more productive.
You're asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Smart people would know how to use all these different tools. They start with something small.
You'll never get your entire organization if you don't pull off operations.
Don't give up.
It can be as small as that.
I think you guys are gonna have our last today.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Delegate That podcast show where we discuss the art and the science of delegation. We also touch in business, leadership, and management. And today we have my good friend Paul Windemuller, great visionary entrepreneur, and he's gonna share some of his background here today before we dive into the discussion. Paul, welcome to the show.
Marcio, thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this. I'm usually on the other side of this, so I'm excited to be a guest on a podcast today.
Well, the first thing, if you can share about your background so the audience can learn about yourself, and we go from there.
Yeah, I'm one of those rare people that you find in agriculture that didn't grow up in farming, and I decided to be an entrepreneur in agriculture. And my wife and I started our own farm, a dairy farm here in Michigan, about a little over a decade ago now. And through that, I've had a lot of great opportunities to grow into some other businesses, doing some consulting work for some ag tech companies. I'm in a scholarship, international scholarship right now, traveling the world, learning about agriculture in different cultures and regions and sectors, and just really enjoying life and enjoying being a business owner.
Grabbing life big, right?
You bet. Oh, but yeah, podcast as well.
And podcast.
The AgCulture Podcast.
Yes.
So.
Well, tell me, we really like to geek out on the delegation aspect of things. So tell me, as a founder, how do you delegate tasks to ensure your teams operate efficiently across the different businesses? How do you do all that?
Yeah, so originally when I started my farm, I didn't really know how to do that very well. But the one thing that I did know was it was actually kind of forced upon me is I started a farm business, which is usually a very broad, dynamic business. There's a lot of aspects to it that you have to be good at. And I didn't have a ton of skills and I didn't have a ton of money to start that business. So I had to really, really focus on what I was doing. And for me, that was in the dairy farm, it was milking cows. So that's what I focused on. And I kind of collaborated with neighbors and other people in the industry to do the rest. So that really taught me how to delegate through collaboration originally. Is that helped me focus my resources, but financial resources, but also my time resources, and really helped me hone in what skill sets that I needed to improve and get good at, because I didn't need to be broad when I first started. I just needed to focus on a narrow spot. So that really focused me to delegate. And through that now, that's taught me to delegate tasks to employees. That's led me to people like yourself that help me understand how to use systems like, Monday.com or those type of things to just list out all of the weekly things that need to be done in my business and who's going to own those things, right? And then relate that to the KPIs that we're tracking. So that's, I guess, the real quick version of how I learned how to delegate. But really, at the beginning, it was forced upon me because I didn't have the resources that I needed personally to make it happen by myself.
I love that. And what strategies do you use to identify the right people, the right person for the critical roles in your companies? How do you find good people there? What are the criteria and how do you go about that?
I would say a couple of different ways, kind of depending on the role. So I have some entry level roles on our farm business, And those, I'm really just looking for somebody that's got some passion and that has a desire to learn. So in those roles, I want somebody that is more interested in learning because and that wants to be around because they want to learn, and I can help them learn those skills and teach those things to them. But in some of the other roles, like my assistant, I was looking for somebody that had a very different personality than I do to kind of take what a personality like myself that's visionary and thinks big, but I struggle with the details. Like, oh crap, I've got 3 appointments on my calendar for the same time because I never look at my calendar.
Yeah.
I needed somebody with a personality that complemented mine, and their thought process and how they do their work. So, in that specific role, it was very important that I had somebody that was detailed, somebody that uh, could be methodical, more methodical than I am, because I'm always all over the place and trying to screw things up a lot, and do it a different way every time I do it. Right.
Across the multiple business, you mentioned Monday.com. Are you using any other tools to be productive across the different businesses?
Yeah, so for me, the calendar, so I just use the Google Calendar. Like I'm pretty simple, and Calendly has become a great tool as well to link to my calendar, and my assistant has done a great job of reaching out to people when I ask her to, or when people reach out to me, she kind of handles the, hey, do you want to talk to this person? When do you want to talk to them? How long do you want me to schedule it for? And just gets it taken care of and set up on my calendar. So the calendar app has helped us really coordinate that, to make sure that I'm not double booking myself, and that and also that my assistant knows what's coming up for appointments. So if I need her to gather some information so I can have an intelligent conversation with that person, then she knows when it needs to be done by. She sees it, it's on the calendar, and she can send it to me and get that information over to me in a timely manner. So that's really been probably one of the biggest game changers that I've had, having an assistant that complements my personality. I just do a lot better with my time management and being more engaging in the conversations and meetings that I have.
Thank you. And then on the agriculture side, the dairy farm or the industry as a whole, what do you see today for the audience? Maybe folks don't know, but I'm a veterinarian by training, but I'm fairly removed from the day to day there from livestock and things. So what are the trends and challenges that you are seeing in the industry?
Yeah, I would say the biggest one is the transition right now, especially in dairy. The transition in data and sensory technology and artificial intelligence, and bringing that all together. That's a huge area, that's an opportunity, but to implement that, to make that into actionable insights, making all that data and compiling it into actionable insights can be a challenge. So that's one area that I see as a huge opportunity for us to delegate some data mining and some thought process to technology that I have to currently do myself today. So I think in the next couple of years, that's really going to change. And it's also going to give us better insights and quicker insights, because a computer's capable of mining and understanding such a vast amount of data compared to my human brain. So I'm looking forward to that transition. We're already using a lot of that on our farm already. But I think that's just going to continue to grow, and we're going to be able to delegate some of those things out to technology, or people that know how to do the individual task, but that might not know or understand how to bring all that data together to decide what specific action to take.
Yeah, and I know, at least on the swine side of things, where it's my background, it's in poultry, it's a little behind the curve when it comes to technology when you compare to dairy. So it's kind of cool to see the dairy industry pushing the envelope there. And what about the podcast, the
AgCulture Podcast?
AgCulture Podcast? Why did you create it? What is the goal? How do you manage the growth? Content creation? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so originally I created it because of the scholarship program that I got. It's called Nuffield, a Nuffield Scholarship. This is an international farming scholarship, and through that, I'm basically spending 2 years traveling around the world, studying a topic, which is artificial intelligence in the dairy sector, and also just learning and meeting all kinds of incredible people from all different walks of agriculture. So I wanted an outlet to be able to share those conversations and share those experiences and those travels with a broader audience than just my family and friends, so I could help add value to the industry as a whole. And the best way that I could think of doing that was through one of my favorite avenues of learning is through a podcast, right? So that was kind of the nexus for AgCulture Podcast, and that's been an incredible journey. I didn't think it would grow to what it is today with the listenership and the audience that we have today, and so many impactful conversations that I've had with people. It's been great. My social media following has really grown. It's not just people randomly saying, just clicking follow, but having in-depth conversations like, "Hey, I really enjoyed this episode," or I just connected with this person that you had a great conversation with them. Thanks for having them on." Those are the type of things that really I get excited about. But it's been a process. And again, going back to my assistant, she does a great job. She handles most of the behind the scenes stuff for that, reaching out to the guests. We kind of coordinate on, hey, I think this person would be good. She makes connections in sectors of agriculture that I don't really have connections, and does reach outs and finds the people that would be interesting guests on our podcast for those areas where I don't have deep connections. And so that keeps our guests kind of from a broad range of walk of agriculture, and then just setting up processes of, this is how we're going to reach out to guests, this is how we're going to handle scheduling, this is the information that we need and when we need it by, and she sends all that information, gathers that, and then schedules and builds the social media content that we put together, and she puts all that out on a weekly basis. So it's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes that she handles for me, and that's the reason I can still do this, as well as the editing team. That's definitely, if I had to do that all myself, I can tell you it would. We just finished our 52nd episode, so we've been doing one a week for an entire year.
Amazing.
And
Wow.
that would have never happened without that team. So
Wow. I was going to ask how many episodes. That's awesome. Good milestone right there. What about being a Newfield scholar? What is the biggest takeaway or the biggest aha moment there with all those the trips, the travel, the conversations?
oh boy, there's a lot of ways I could go there. I would say personally, one of the biggest things that I had to grow into through that experience, and one of the reasons why they set it up the way they do, is to help you get out of your business so you can um, see it from a different perspective. So I traveled for, at one point, a 6-week period um, without being on my farm, and another point, a 4-week period without being on my farm, and a total of 18 weeks so far this year that I've been off my farm. And for most farmers, that just would not happen. So just the whole experience of learning how to deal with that has been a big point of growth for me personally. But the conversations with, we had dinner at the Parliament building in the UK one night with some members of Parliament. We had a big party hosted by one of the governors of one of the states in Brazil at his mansion. We had jumped off waterfalls in southern Brazil. Met with some billionaire founders of companies in agriculture and spent the whole day with them, learning kind of behind the scenes from the most advanced people in artificial intelligence, in dairy equipment, and stuff that they weren't even releasing yet or even saying out in public, and just seeing some amazing historical site. I mean, it's been a phenomenal year.
That's impressive. That's quite the experience. I'm so happy for that, and for sharing that. And now, as we transition a little bit into leadership, how do you foster resilience as a leader as you are traveling and things maybe are sometimes go wrong back in the farm, or just that resilience that a leader entrepreneur needs, and how do you go about that?
Well, Marcio, I would say there's definitely been some times where there's been some issues while I was gone. I guess the mindset that I figured out to have in that situation is, in 20 years, how big of a deal is this going to be in my life, right? If I start with that premise, so that helps kind of de-escalate my blood pressure a little bit. Like 20 years from now, if my robots are down for 4 hours for one day, it's a big deal that day, but 20 years from now, is that going to make an impact on me financially, or, change the direction or course of my life? Probably not. So, okay, just get the emotions, get the blood boil back down, get the emotions in check, and say, okay, what's the best course of action to handle this situation now? Who can I call? And that's really where, going back to the whole delegation thing, is having key people set up before you need it, and understand, okay, well, I've got this vendor and this employee. If I make sure that they communicate together, they'll be able to work together to solve this issue, and then I can be out of it. Mm-hmm. And just make that connection point, and just having those good relationships set up beforehand, I think, is key. And then understanding how to leverage them going forward. But also, yeah, just having a proper mindset about it of at the end of the day, how big a deal is this going to be for my life or the life of others? Now, sometimes it might be you might be at a turning point in your career, or an inflection point where that employee really, they just need to go. Then you do need to make some hard decisions sometimes, and you might have to step up. And I've had it before where, yep, that person needs to go, and it's gonna affect me for a little bit, because now I've got to get back in the trenches until I find somebody else that can replace that key person. But I still need to be to be the leader and be willing to move back to that position if that is the case, and make sure that everyone else around us sees that I did the right thing by maybe taking that person out of their role, and allowing others to step into a role that makes more sense for them.
No, that makes sense. And what you said about earlier, you said about connecting the vendor with the employee, and getting out of their way. I love that, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they sometimes want to be the control on the voice, or not the voice of the communication flow, etc. And sure, sometimes you may pick up a few things or a few mistakes that wouldn't happen, but that is not scalable. So that's really cool.
And one way to kind of do that without maybe to know what's going on without being in the middle of it is, if they're communicating through text, hey, can you just include me in the text thread? I'm not going to comment, but still include me so I know what's going on, where things are at. Or the same thing with an email, that's works good too. But just stay out of it and let them handle it, but you can see what's going on.
One question that I want to start asking on the podcast is, what is the craziest thing that you've delegated? Could be crazy, or doesn't have to be crazy, but what you were scared to delegate, or something like that. What was funny, or something happened, or something like that.
Trying to think. Well, I guess at the beginning, one thing I was really scared to delegate was my email and like social media messaging. My assistant really understood how I thought after a short period of time, and would understand how to make a response that I would make, and that really helped me be a lot more effective following up with people and making sure that that I was getting back to people and that I was setting up, scheduling. A lot of it was just around scheduling, right? I don't need to be in the middle of that, but I thought I did. And it was more effective when I wasn't. So
from the book Buy Back Our Time, right, from Don Martell, there's a quick script, very short, that the assistant can use, which is like, hey, I saw this email here before Paul, and I think you want a fast response, so I'll go ahead and schedule this. And yeah, Paul, anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to share with the audience?
As a farmer, most farmers are horrible at delegating. We just, nobody can do it as good as us, right? That's kind of the farmer mantra. And what I found is I'm a lot more effective at what I'm good at. The very few things that I'm good at when I can delegate all the other things that I'm not good at. And like you said, find a person that is good at those things. So whether that be an assistant or another type of employee that complements your personality, finding somebody that can handle those things that you're just not good at, and take them, and you can work as a team and be a lot more productive, because now you have two people doing what they're really good at instead of one person that's doing some of what they're really good at but spending most of the time at stuff that they're not. Yeah,
everyone has a different superpower. So you focus on your thing and you let other people do their thing, and everyone's happy. No, I love it. Paul, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate all your work, your partnership, and everything that you're doing for agriculture. It's amazing to see the growth that you're having with the podcast and with your business, man. So appreciate your friendship, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride, and I've enjoyed seeing you grow as a person and in your business as well, and being right alongside of you. So thanks for having me today.
Thank you, Paul.